Hello everyone, Ewan from Elixir Experts here. Today I'm going to discuss potential issues using the Windows as planned versus as built method of delay analysis in dispute resolution, and why it is potentially used by some parties. Whereas the determination of the actual or contemporaneous critical path is not reliant upon the baseline program is still used as the benchmark by which to measure delay. Therefore, it needs to be reliable, and to this extent should be realistic and capable of achievement in terms of being appropriately logic linked with reasonable sequences and activity durations. If it is not, then any critical delay measurements may be unreliable. Then there can be significant modifications to the planned intentions within program updates, or the program can be rebaselined, that need to be accounted for in any analysis, as these can alter delay measurements if measuring to an obsolete baseline program. In these circumstances, the analyst should not simply compare to the original as-planned program. The method requires good as-built data, and if it is incomplete or inaccurate, this can compromise the reliability of the analysis. Ideally, the program should contain as-built start and finish dates of activities, and not merely just a record of the percentage progress complete within a window, since an activity could either start or finish at any date within the window and not that forecast by any program software. In addition, there need to be adequate records to explain any critical delay arising. Otherwise, it is possible that the explanation for any critical delay could be that the contractor is not keeping up with planned progress. The method of delay analysis can be more subjective and open to interpretation than other methods, especially in determining the critical path and assessing the impact of various events on the program. In turn, a more subjective approach can require more experienced experts for a reliable analysis founded upon sound engineering and construction knowledge. Windows should be at suitably granular intervals, because if they are too large in duration, the analysis can hide what was truly critical within the window by bypassing periods of time when other matters were critical and causing delay. However, this does not mean they have to be a set time period, such as monthly, but suitably granular to capture changes in the critical path or particular events, milestones, or delays. If scope is added to the project, or even new activities added to the program, it makes it more challenging to compare to a relevant baseline because the new activities do not appear in the original baseline program. However, this can often be overcome by analysing the successor activity to the new scope close to the time it occurred, albeit that can sometimes introduce a slight forecast element to the delay measurement. Program updates provide for updating the program with progress and potentially altering the planned intentions going forward. Whereas programs are not necessarily essential for the Windows as planned versus as built analysis, they are very often used as a source of progress information. If these changes are not aligned with previous programs, it can be challenging to track the progress of a particular activity over time, introducing uncertainty. This can include altering the IDs of activities and their descriptions between programs, making it unclear if the activities represent the same work. So why do parties use this method of delay analysis? Firstly, it is recognised in the Society of Construction Law's Delay and Disruption Protocol, 2nd edition, February 2017, as a legitimate method of analysis. If performed properly, then it is a reliable method of delay analysis in dispute resolution. Indeed, the analysis is carried out on as-built facts, which in my experience carries favour with tribunals. Secondly, it might be mandated by the contract as the method for assessing delay, and as such a party may be obliged to use this method to assess delay. However, it is a retrospective method of analysis that requires the work to have been carried out to show actual critical delays, and so it is of less utilisation whilst the works are still being carried out. The method of delay analysis allows a detailed granular analysis of the project timeline by breaking the program down into discrete periods of time, focusing on the identification of the actual or contemporaneous critical path. It is only a delay to the critical path at the time that causes a critical delay to completion, so this improves the reliability of this method over some other methods in dispute resolution by addressing what was critical at the time. Since the method measures actual delay, it is my experience that it is often preferred by tribunals since it is founded upon what actually happened. It is also a method that allows common sense to be used. This common sense should still be supported by a well-founded analysis of the facts, and not merely be an opinion that says it is common sense. This can mean parties may be better served by using experienced experts with good actual construction knowledge. The Windows as-planned versus as-built method of delay analysis is less reliant on programs and programming software than other methods. Therefore, it is not always necessary to have a complete set of regular programs. Nevertheless, it should still be recognized that programs often do feature within such an analysis, particularly as the programs usually capture the most comprehensive set of progress and planning information in one place. The windows can be selected so as to only analyze relevant timeframes of the project without unnecessarily burdening assessors with irrelevant parts of the project. For example, if a project progressed as planned in 2023 but delays occurred in 2024, then it may only be necessary to analyse the project in 2024. It is also possible, where appropriate, to adopt a watershed approach by analysing chosen milestones instead of windows defined by time intervals. By breaking the project down into windows, it is easier for third parties to understand how progress was affected or delay arose to a limited number of activities, as opposed to having to grapple with understanding the progress of thousands of activities in the overall program. In addition, when projects are broken down into windows, it can resolve or minimize arguments surrounding whether true concurrency exists, as it is often seen that the delays complained of fall within different timeframes. This also allows the findings to potentially be presented in a simpler and more persuasive manner. Finally, by considering progress and any delay in windows, areas of agreement or disagreement in windows can be recorded to narrow any differences between two parties in dispute, which might mean the smaller differences can be resolved through negotiation. In summary, the as-planned versus as-built windows method of delay analysis is reliable in dispute resolution when executed properly. That's it for now. Have a great day.